Hello, hello, hello. Today we are jumping right into it. Today we are talking about 25 important things every teacher, every parent should know. So when it comes to things that you should know about teaching, the list is ridiculous. So today I am breaking down everything that you should know. I really sat here and came up with a list. I was like, okay, what are important things that I feel like every parent and every teacher should know? Last week, if you missed last week, make sure you check that replay out. Last week we went over, it was really engaging, but I went over 10 like mistakes and stuff that parents and teachers make, and we broke it down, had a very engaging Q&A. So I wanted to like piggyback off what we talked about last week by giving you 25 important things that every parent and every teacher should know. So without further ado, let's hop on in. Hope y'all are ready. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. All right, so let's talk about time management. Dun, da, da, da. There's a lot when you deal with time, and a lot of things with education end up piggybacking off of time. Have you ever felt yourself saying, I never had time to do blank? Like you taught something, you're like, man, I never had time to get to this activity. Like you had something planned, but you just never got to it. Or have you felt yourself saying, I wish I had time to blank? Like you have all these things in your mind, you see things on Pinterest, you see things around, but you just feel like, I wish I had time to do that with my children. I wish I had time to do that with my child. Or I never had time to do blank when you did plan for something. Or have you ever felt yourself saying, how do I set up a teaching schedule? Like you don't even know where to start setting up a teaching schedule, or maybe you had a weekly teaching schedule and it just didn't quite go as planned, or you got off of it or became inconsistent with it. That's the things I'm going to start off by sharing, different tips that will help you when it comes to time management. So tip number one is you want to develop a realistic schedule. So when I say realistic schedule, you're probably saying, all right, that's, well, duh. But no, truly realistically, Thursdays are really long days. Don't overextend yourself and try to teach them, like teach these elaborate things on Thursday. Make Thursdays like some easy things that you can teach, like easy things that you can implement. If you know that Mondays are really easy days, maybe those are the days where you do these elaborate lessons, and you do more hands-on activities, or and you do things that take more time. So literally create your schedule where one, you feel like it kind of aligns with the rest of your day as much as possible. And also, when I say develop a realistic schedule, let's also talk about time. Think about your time, your children's time. Like, if you know, most kids, I could truthfully say, most kids have the most energy in the morning, right? That's just generally speaking, most kids have the most energy in the morning. So if you know that most kids have the most energy in the morning, and you know that your child or children are really struggling when it comes to reading, then what do you think I'm going to tell you to do? Teach reading in the morning. So, yes. So that's a part of developing a realistic schedule. So, really think about, okay, when do you have the most energy? When do your children have the most energy? Put the most important things like reading, writing, even basic math during those times. And then you can fill the other times with things like, social studies or independent work or independent activities, things like that. So really kind of work with your energy, work with your children's energy, work with your time as far as the days where you have the most free time, or the days where you have a lot of meetings. Maybe you don't want to overexert yourself those days. And then develop a schedule centered around that. So that is tip number one. Definitely. Let's jump into tip number two. Once you have like a general schedule, so I want you to start off with that. Then I want you to add non negotiable times to certain tasks. So when I say non negotiable times, generally when we make a schedule, we'll say, okay, from 9 to 10, I'm going to teach reading. Okay. And from 10 to 11, I want to teach math. That's not quite what I'm talking about. When I say non negotiable, I mean a time where you just shut everything down. No matter what you're doing, no matter what you have going on that day, you are going to do that task. So, an example, this is an example of just a schedule, right? And within this schedule, you'll see there was already a block of time for a morning meeting. Due to that morning meeting, the morning meeting was 8:40 to 9:10. So that was already a schedule that was done. 8:40 to 9:10 is morning meeting. Now, you know that reading fluency is very important. So, you're going to give reading fluency a non-negotiable time, meaning no matter what, at 9 o'clock, I'm going to shut down morning meeting and we're going to do reading fluency every day, 9 o'clock, no matter what. No matter what, every day, 9 o'clock, boom, that's when I do reading fluency. So what I'm saying is within your schedule, like you already created the schedule, you already have kind of like, when do you do things? And typically all of us have a schedule. Now, your schedule might need to be adjusted this time of year, but generally we have a roundabout schedule, right? And if you're a parent and you don't have a schedule at all, I'm showing you how to start off, take those easy days, make your hardest things go on those days, etc. Just like we went over in tip number one. And then tip number two, you're gonna set a time within those blocks to do non-negotiable things, like certain tasks, like in this example, reading fluency, 9 o'clock every single day. So you start off with that block, and then you're going to give yourself some non-negotiable times to do things. And that takes us to tip number three, which is stick to your schedule. So it is very difficult. I hear from so many people that the hardest thing is consistency. And let me tell you, even when it comes to, my own business and showing up for you guys and really being here with you guys, consistency is very important. And we all, struggle. We're human. We have a lot going on. We're moms, we're coworkers, we are wives, we are all these other titles that and hats that we wear. It can be very difficult to show up and show up all the time. But in order to see a breakthrough with children need routines, they need consistency. So, tip number three, you're going to stick to the schedule as much as you possibly can. And one thing that will help you with that is tip number four, to use a timer. So, set a timer, especially for those non negotiable tasks that we just discussed. So, at 9 o'clock of every day at 9 o'clock is your reading fluency time, then you're going to set a timer. So yes, you might have like 10 timers go off in one day, and it's okay. Children will get used to your timers. They'll start telling you, oh, it's time for da 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 da, because they'll get used to it. They get used to doing the same things. And believe me, this gets easier. As much as you stick to it, it'll become second nature. And it really cuts down on a lot of stress because you know what you're doing, the kids know what they're doing. So expectations are kind of already set. Ooh, trying to fix my hair. Expectations are already set, so they already know what they are doing. Give me 1 second. Let me just get a little sip of water. Thank you. All right, let's go to our next tip. Tip number 5, and you might be like, okay, you just told me to stick to my schedule, but now you're telling me to be flexible. So being realistic, things come up. A lot of times, within our days, things happen. You have field trips, you have days where emergencies happen. If you're a parent, things may be happening in your life a certain day. If you're a teacher, I know those days where you walk into work, then your administrators are like, "Oh, today we have visitors, so I want you to be doing this," and you have to change your entire day. You might have had a lesson that you really wanted to get done, and now you have to change the entire thing. But just being mindful that although we have to stick to our schedule, have non-negotiable tasks, we also need to want to give you a tip to just be flexible. Not too flexible where you're not sticking to your schedule, but be flexible with things that are out of your control. So just kind of think, okay, if it's something that comes up where you have no control over it, that's when you need to be flexible. If it's something that you're just like, I don't feel like doing, that's when you need to stick to your schedule. So like kind of use that little thought in your head as you are kind of like going back and forth, like start saying like, okay, is this a moment where I need to stick to my schedule, or is this a moment that I can be flexible? So do I have control over it? If I have control over it, then I need to stick to my schedule. If I don't have control over it, then I need to be flexible. So, um, that's a great tidbit of advice. All right, that takes us to tip number 6. Create a time for quick wins. Let me know down below in the comments, what are some of your quick wins of the day? Like, what are some of the things that you feel like are quick wins? Like, really simple 10-minute tasks that you do all the time, or that you can do all the time, that can make a big difference. So here are some of the quick wins that I always like to do that are really simple and easy. So you have fluency practice, whether that be math or reading or writing. For me, when I was teaching, I used to do reading fluency every day and writing fluency once a week. And then we did math fact fluency in center. So that was also kind of like weekly. So but reading fluency was every day. I am huge on reading fluency. And I know I need to put more out there about reading fluency. I'm sorry, y'all. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. But reading fluency is something you can really do every single day. Doesn't take, too much time, energy, or effort out of you. Can make a big difference with kids. Huge. Get them practicing expression, get them the words per minute to increase, because they're reading the same passage at least for 1 week, so they're able to learn how to kind of tackle words, get more familiar. It also builds confidence with reading. I can go on and on about the benefits of reading fluency, but that is a quick win, because it only takes you about 10 minutes a day. That's it, 10 minutes. 10 minutes to make a big change in a lifetime. I'll take it. Another quick one is number talks. Let me know down below in the comments. Have you ever done a number talk? I love number talks, y'all. Love them. Love them, love them, love them, love them. So with a number talk, what you would do is number talks really build on mental math. So with number talks, you'll have like a problem on the board, or a problem, wherever. For me, I did it on the board. And children will literally solve the problem mentally. They're not using the sheet of paper, they're not using anything but mental math. They're able to talk it out, and so it really helps, especially with Common Core, because it makes them mentally work out problems, and then they can verbally agree with their peers, disagree, state their points, and all you do is write down exactly what they say. So it really becomes child led, or student led, because you are literally just a facilitator. That's it. You're just a facilitator. And if you need to challenge them, you challenge them through questions. But with number talks and fluency practices, both are only 10 minutes. Those are quick, non-negotiable wins. So quick tip that I can give y'all is to use those. You utilize those quick wins, so that one, you don't even have to plan those. Like they kind of, well, you might have to plan the number talk, but fluency practice, you don't really have to plan. And number talks, You can pretty much plan a whole week of number talks in like 10 minutes, literally. So, what are you waiting on? It's time. It's time. And then brain breaks. That's another quick win. Utilize that quick wins. I've seen so many people that try to do lessons, like a full blown lesson, and nobody's listening. Nobody at all. Why is my thing open? I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all just looking all into my dresser. But or nightstand rather. But utilize brain breaks. I've seen teachers literally teach a whole lesson and none of the kids are listening. Okay. If that happens, take a quick win, pause, give your kids a brain break. Give your kids a brain break. In fact, if you need an icebreaker, I have a free activity guide. I'm going to be talking about it in a second, but it gives you a free brain break activity right there. So, yes, let's jump into what I have coming up for y'all. That will help you with this. So, another quick win that you can do for yourself is to join my free workshop. Woo! So excited, y'all. So excited. So, coming up, I have a free workshop all about how to simplify teaching without the hours of planning and without the overwhelm. I have the link to the workshop down below in the description. But in this workshop, I'm going to be giving you some really quick wins and ways that you can literally simplify your teaching. Because I've seen so many of you guys, I've been doing the polls. You guys are like, I'm just so overwhelmed, don't know where to start. Some of the other things that I've said. And lesson planning and crap is way just too time consuming. It's just unnecessarily time consuming. So join the free workshop where I help you simplify teaching without all the hours of planning. And I know even my parents, game changing. I've had parent clients really helped out with as far as the planning, because with parents you don't know how to plan, and a lot of times it's just you don't know where to start. You're not a teacher, so it's like, well, where do I come up with all this stuff? And that can lead to hours and hours of sitting there trying to find things, trying to find resources, and it leads to the same overwhelm that teachers end up experiencing. So in the link in the description is the workshop. Make sure you check out that link. Boop, 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 boop. And I hope to see y'all there. I have a few more plugs coming up, so you guys will hear more in a second. All right, so let's talk about lesson and activity creation. Boop, 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 boop. Y'all like my sound effects? I hope y'all like my sound effects. I hope you like the sound effects. All right, so when it comes to lesson, and I put lesson slash activity because I know that some people it's the whole lesson plans that they really struggle with. Some of you guys, it's literally just the activities. Like, what activities do you put in the lessons? So that's why I said lesson slash activity creation. Do you ever find yourself saying, I wish I was that creative? Like you're scrolling on Pinterest, you see some really cute things, and you're like, oh, I wish I was that creative. I wish that was me. Or you find yourself teaching, you're like, just do this worksheet. Just do this worksheet. It's easier for you to just get online, download a worksheet, and give it out. Or do you find yourself spending hours looking for activities? Like hours and hours looking for activities. If you find yourself doing any of these, then you really need these lesson activity tips. I see so many parents that really, when it comes to activities, they don't understand. Like they'll say, okay, I need something to do with my child. But in all honesty, you really need a lesson to teach your child. And it's just that concept, I would feel like parents just they don't get quite yet. Like because they're not an educator, they don't see like how it all ties together. So let's jump into these tips. The first tip I can give you is to use a simple lesson plan. If you can, some school systems, if you're a teacher, there are things that you have to use. Like they give you a lesson plan that you don't have a choice. You have to use their lesson plan. So you can't really use this tip if that applies to you. But if you are a parent or if you are someone that does have the flexibility, definitely use a simple lesson plan. And by simple, I mean, y'all, when I was in college and they first started off teaching us how to teach, sorry for all my college professors if y'all watching this, but those 6-page lesson plans are so unnecessary. They're so unnecessary. All these different parts. If it takes you that long just to get over the template, then try to find a more simpler template. It's not the template for you. Because your lesson plan process should be really geared for you to just get your thoughts out on paper so you're playing. That's really what it's for. It's not for all these things, but you should be able to have a stranger look at it and be able to pick it up and teach. So you need the ideas on there, not all that extra fluff and all that extra, stuff. So tip number 7, if possible, try to find a more simpler lesson plan that kind of cuts out some categories that you don't feel necessary. That will also help relieve some of the stress. Tip number 8, when it comes to creating these really fun, engaging lessons, is to create a bank of activities. Y'all, this is game changing. So many times when we're coming up with lessons and we're trying to figure out, okay, I need to teach, adding 2-digit by 2-digit numbers. Cool. That's great. Then you go and you spend all this time looking online for lessons that go over adding 2-digit by 2-digit numbers, right? That's typically what we do. We start off with the concept, then we try to find lessons that deal with that concept. I'm telling you a shortcut. Okay. I'm helping y'all out. Well, instead of doing that, if you have a bank of go-to activities, right? Then you can use those same activities no matter what the skill is, what the concept is, what strategy you're teaching. You already have activities. You can just rotate the skill or standard out. Bang, win-win. And it really cuts out a lot of the hours of doing so make sure you come to my free workshop, links down below in the description, because that's one thing that I'll kind of be showing you how you can do, because this is the game changer tip right here. Like, this of all tips is the game changing tips. If you don't have a bank of activities that you already use, then let me help you at least start off your bank. Down below in the description, you will also see free 3 activities to use for any lesson. So I help you out with your bank. Go ahead and get started with your activity bank. I'm giving you 3 activities to use. Hello, hello. I'm giving you activities to use, help you simplify your teaching. And also, in that freebie, I'm also giving you a free icebreaker. So you can use that icebreaker for a brain break. You can use the activities to create a bank of activities. So, literally, I'm giving you what you need to simplify your teaching right there for you. So the next tip is to create a list of go-to activities. So once you create that bank, you have a bank of activities that you're like, yes, these are my bank of go-to activities. You then create your go-to activities. What are your favorite ones out of there? Because you have to kind of like comb through, because your favorite ones are going to be the ones that you don't need to look back at that bank anymore. You know them. So I'll help you guys out. One of the free activities in the freebie is Four Corners, because that's one of my favorite ones. And I actually have the digital version of it for you guys to use with your children, right? But that was one of my go-to activities. So whatever, no matter what I was teaching, if I was teaching fractions, if I was anything I was teaching, all I would literally do is go right to that game. Like, I had that game no matter what I was teaching. So that's tip number 9 for you. Once again, use that to really help you comb through it. One of those games, I have, like I said, 3 activities I'm giving to you plus an icebreaker. Use that to create your bank. All right, tip number 10, recreate the wheel. So many times we want to start from scratch and we want to come up with these wonderful lessons. Like, we have to be the ones to create all of this. And I'm telling you, you do not recreate the wheel. The wheel has already been created. In fact, do you know that 90% of the things that we think about are already thought about from someone else? So, like, if we say, "Ooh, this should be created," somebody already has already thought about that. They might have patented it, they might not have patented it, etc. You know, um, for example, years ago, I was like, they should create, because I always FaceTime, always FaceTime. FaceTime is my thing. Where are all my Apple lovers? Yay! I don't do droids. Mm-mm. Everything in my house is Apple. Okay, but years ago, I was like, Apple should really create FaceTime where, more than one person could come in, because you be wanting to talk to, a group. Now that's the thing. Did I patent that? No. Did I go to Apple and say, hey, here's my idea? No. Should have, but I did it. So don't recreate the wheel. A lot of times there's stuff that's already out there. And if you're trying to find something, like, for example, I did 2 digit by 2 digit number earlier, and you're trying to create a lesson or look at a lesson for 2 digit by 2 digit number, and you don't see anything you like, just look for a lesson that's already out there that you do like, and then just change out the concept. Okay. Um, but so many times we spend so much time, if we find something that's not aligned, then trying to start from scratch. But I'm telling you, tip number 10, recreate the wheel. Save your energy. Recreate that wheel. If you weren't on here when I mentioned it, let me mention it again. Coming up, I have a free workshop all about how to simplify teaching without the hours of planning, without the overwhelm, without the stress. I'm helping you relieve some stress. So, some of the things that I'm talking about here in today's live, giving you 25 things every parent and teacher should know, I'm going to be walking you through in the workshop. So, make sure you check out that workshop. I hope you guys are there. I'm excited about it. I hope you're excited about it. Let's do this together, because our mental health really matters, and I want to help y'all. I want to help you guys. I want to help y'all. So make sure you guys are at that workshop. So there we go. Make sure you guys are at the workshop. All right, tip number 11. So plan for the skills needed before a lesson. So many times we go into a lesson. So let's use the same. I'm going to use this 2 digit by 2 digit number example throughout this whole stream. So if you're teaching things like, 2 digit by 2 digit, and you're teaching adding 2 digit by 2 digit, okay? A lot of times we're like, okay, my kids need to know this, or my child needs to know this, so I'm going to find a lesson online about it and I'm going to teach it. Beyond, right? But here's the issue. We don't plan for what they need before the lesson. So what ends up happening is you get to the lesson, you're like, okay, we are going to go over adding 2 digit by 2 digit numbers. But remember, you haven't gone over what they need to know before that, because you haven't thought about that. So you start the lesson, you realize, yeah, guess what? They have no idea what to do. They have no idea how to even add. And the whole lesson is bombed. You're like, what? You don't know how to add 1 digit by 1 digit? Well, so then you end up spending half the lesson going back teaching 1 digit by 1 digit, because you didn't do tip number 11 and thought about, okay, what do they need to know before the lesson? So this is why I'm saying this tip, because if you just spend 2 minutes just thinking about that, okay, what is something that they need to know before the skill? Then you could have started off the lesson by 1 digit by 1 digit, spent like 3 minute max. I mean, like max, just refreshing their memory. So they're like, oh, yeah, I did learn this, so that they can get the concept. Instead of teaching 2 digit by 2 digit, realizing that they don't remember 1 digit by 1 digit, going back, spending another 30 minutes in the middle of the concept, and now all the kids are confused, or your child is confused. This is why they're confused. So take the 2 minutes out, really plan what skills they need before a lesson. Think about what are some things that they need before the lesson. Go ahead and plan that out and go ahead and implement it. And in addition to that, plan also what a child would do if they don't get the skill. So, what would you do if your child or your children or a child in your class doesn't get the skill? So if I teach 2 digit by 2 digit, what is my fallback plan? Just prepare for the fallback plan. So for example, if you're in the middle of a lesson, you're like, okay, I know I have my little sticky note. I know that Susie, Tommy, and Joe don't understand this concept. I just write their names because I've already planned that I'm going to do a small group tomorrow morning. So take that 2 seconds just to think about, okay, what is my fallback plan if they don't get it? Am I gonna send this homework packet home? Am I gonna send them on the computer to use technology? If you missed my last week's live, make sure you check it out because we really went over how to use technology to help supplement teaching. But are you gonna use technology to supplement the teaching for the kids that don't get it? Like, what are you going to do for the kid that doesn't get the skill? Okay. So just think about it. Come up with what you're gonna do. Just come up with a plan. Like I said, I'm giving y'all these tips to make you become proactive instead of reactive. I'm really big on being proactive. We're not reactive. We are proactive in these streets. Okay. All right, you guys probably like this girl and her energy. Also, we talked about planning before a lesson. We talked about what plan, go ahead and plan what's your fallback plan for if they don't get it. But also plan what you want them to do after the lesson. If you go ahead and think, okay, they got it, cool. What do I want them to do? So this is where homework centers, all of that good stuff, small group come into play. Um, so for teachers, of course, you're gonna do homework or small group. All right, they got it. Now I want them to do this activity. For a parent, what you would think about, okay, if they get it after, what are some sites maybe that my child can go on to practice by themselves? I really go over this with my clients and I help them develop different activities and things that their children can do. For my child, like especially Kindle's 3, so we do a lot of phonemic awareness, sounds, letter recognition, number recognition, counting. She really has counting down pat. But then things, I have apps that she can do after the lesson. I have workbooks that she can use. She really doesn't do those as much because I'm a very hands-on parent. But she also has an activity desk that she loves. In that desk, she goes over the same skills that I do. If you haven't checked out, I have a video about our learning bike. She uses that to go over her letters and sounds, and she's like riding her bike doing it. But those are things she does after I teach her. But it's like an easy transition because we can go over the letter sound. Like right now, she's really does not get B. Okay, she struggles with B. Now, if you say B says she can tell you buh, but if you just show her B, B and D are both D's right now. So I'm in the middle of really doing the cross because she's learning from mommy and she's learning from her teacher, and we're kind of teaching her in a different order. So we got to get that settled. But so then when she does her activities, I'll put her on the B activities, or I'll put her doing things that are with B. Hello, are with B, the letter B, so everything kind of aligns. So think about things to do after. Like I said, these tips should not take you long to think about. Okay, so literally, um, you're gonna think what they need to do before a lesson. That should probably take you 2 minutes max. What do they need to know before learning how to add 2 digits? Oh, they need to know learning how to add 1 digit. They need to know the concept of addition. They need to know how to line up numbers, etc. Then what do I do if they don't get it? Okay, what is my plan of action? Okay, plan of action. Cool. I'm gonna send this worksheet home on just adding 1 digit by 1 digit just to see if that's a problem. Great. Cool, I have my plan. Then what am I gonna do after I teach the lesson? Oh, great. There's this great app. There's this great, sheet they're gonna do in centers. I have a game that I've already printed out that they're gonna do in centers, or I have a app that my child is gonna do after the lesson. Bomb. Y'all, that took me probably 5 minutes to come up with all of that. It doesn't have to be that complicated. I'm teaching you how to simplify it. Then plan for wiggle room. Give yourself some wiggle room. So many times we jam pack our day. Yes, if you have a question, go ahead and just add your question. No problem. Just go ahead and drop your questions below. But so many times we jam pack our day. Like, I mean, jam pack our day. And we don't allow for wiggle room. And when I say wiggle room, are for kids to come up with new concepts, that on the spot teaching, the exploratory things that come up with children. A lot of times they need that instant feedback. So don't jam pack your week so much so that you don't give yourself some wiggle room. Especially if you are an overachiever like me. A lot of times I struggle with this because this is advice I need to take for myself, especially being a mom. But plan for weekly wiggle room. Do you have a time in your week where you can go back and reteach a skill? Do you have time in your week or your day where you can teach something on the spot? Like, do you have that time where you can be flexible? Do you have that time where you can give one on one support? Do you have that time? So, we talked about scheduling earlier. Think about a time where you can give that wiggle room. Okay. Um, Tip number 15, plan for differentiation. And if you don't know what differentiation is, it is simply all the different levels of children. So if you're a mom, I'm going to break down types of differentiation in a second, and you're going to say, oh, I can do differentiation just with my child at home. But yes, go ahead and plan for differentiation. If you plan for it, it will happen. Okay. Have you guys ever heard what's not scheduled won't be done? What's not planned won't be done. If you don't plan for it, it's not going to get done. Period. So let's talk about types of differentiation. So there's Bloom's taxonomy that's dealing with like rigor and depths of knowledge. So there's 4 different levels of the depths of knowledge in a task that you can ask. So depths of knowledge 1, so DOK level 1, it's just basic recall. So what is 5 times 2? That's a basic recall question. There is one answer and one answer only. 5 times 2 is 10. All a child has to be able to do is recall the answer, right? Versus application. If I said, can you show me 5 times 2? So that might maybe DOK level 2. They're able to apply the knowledge and, kind of show it like, they can show you one of the strategies. Then I can amp it up even more and say, can you solve 5 times 2 and show me using 3 different strategies? Woo! All right, that's DOK level number 3. And explain. Explain. So, okay, explain 5 times 3 using 3 different strategies. So now I can take that same 5 times 2 fact, but I just walked you through kind of how to increase the level of intensity of the task. So we went from basic, what is 5 times 2? Show me 5 times 2. Show me 3 ways to solve 5 times 2 using 3 different strategies. And then you can even go even harder and have a child create their own project or create their own task of 5 times 2 and have like a rubric and so forth. And you can go completely DOK level 4 and have them do more explaining and reasoning behind multiplying and etc. Right? So those are the different levels, right? Another way to do differentiation is think about learning styles. So this is what especially important when it comes to parents, because a lot of parents don't understand this. A lot of teachers teach to one learning style, or we don't even realize we're doing it sometimes. But when you think about learning styles, there are three main learning styles. So you have the visual learner. These are the kids that need to see it. For example, a lot of us know our own learning styles, but we never take the time to think about, okay, what is a child's learning style? Okay, and really try to hit on all three learning styles when you're teaching one skill, because kids learn differently. They learn differently. They learn differently from us, same way we learn differently from each other. So if I'm teaching 5 times 2, same example, I'm going to visually show 5 times 2. Okay. I might visually show a map. For me, I know I am a visual learner. I'm mainly like I kind of do all three, but visual, I can take a mental memory really quick. Right. And then there's the auditory learner. Those are kids that are people that learn best by hearing. Okay. A lot of times, what we do is we show them one or the other, but there's power in doing both. Show the visual and explain for the auditory learner. You can do that at the same time. And then there's the hands on learner. So, the difference between a learning style and a learning modality, learning style is how the brain best processes information, right? So this is kind of your preference. I prefer learning visually, me personally. I prefer also learning hands on. But I can also learn auditorial, but my brain prefers visual and hands on learning. So hands on just means literally 5 times 2. I'm bringing out pins, those we like to call those manipulatives. I'm bringing it out. I'm going to make you literally point out, do an array model, show 5 times 2. So they're going to have two groups of 5 beads or pins or whatever. And they're going to have things to actually in their hands to work with, right? A learning modality is another way you could do differentiation, no matter if you're a teacher or a parent. So with learning modality, that is all the way to go about it. So think about learning modality as the path. So what is the path to learning a new skill? The path that you can take is different, right? So many times we like to do one way of teaching. All the times I see, teachers are really good and parents are really good at showing a visual. Okay, great. But there's lots of other things you can do. Music is huge. Create a song. Have you guys ever learned that what like in music you're like, oh, you don't know your times tables, but you know all the lyrics to Nicki Minaj songs or Cardi B songs, but you don't know your times tables. Okay, have them listen to a multiplication rap. Watch that completely change, because music is a different type of learning modality. So if you have a concept or skill that is really difficult, utilize music, right? Touch is another learning modality. A lot of kids sensory are very sensitive for we like our sensory skills. So have them touch different things. Use graphic organizer for the visual learner. A graphic organizer is a path for that visual learner. Also talking, you might say, how is talking a path? You have social people like me, like a lot of times talking, if you make me talk something out, I'll be able to learn it learn it faster, actually, because I can internalize it easier. I loved when I was in high school, my teacher had a poster, and let me know if you guys have ever seen this poster, but it said like children believe, and I don't quote me, these numbers might be wrong, but I know the last number, but it was like children remember 10% of something that they hear, 30% of something that they see, and then it goes up, but it's like 90% of something that they teach another person. So if you have a skill or concept and you make children teach other children or teach you, if you're a parent, they'll learn 90%, 90% of it. So those are different ways to use differentiation when you're teaching. Um, No matter if you're a parent, you're a teacher, no matter what you're teaching, no matter what level, these are different ways you can do differentiation. All right, so let's talk about creating a teaching life balance. The reason I say teaching life, I don't want to say work life balance, but really teaching life. No matter if you're a parent or a teacher, we all are teaching the youth. We all are shaping the future. I know that's my thing. We're all shaping the future and changing the lives of others. So, if you feel overwhelmed, like you just feel overwhelmed, I've been to that point where I'm just so overwhelmed. I can't give, you know. If you feel too overworked or you feel like you're stretched too thin, you can't pour out into a child what you don't have in yourself, right? I can't pour into somebody or shape their future if I'm drained. You can't give what you don't have. So creating that teaching life balance is so important because you can't give to your kids if you don't have anything to give, right? So let's get into that. Tip 16. We are on tip number 16. I'm giving you 25 tips. Take days off. You guys, one of my friends, one of my best friends, she's now an administrator. Well, she's really like a special ed coach. Okay. So she helps the teacher like special needs teachers. She really kind of helps with with the teachers basically, or with students with disabilities. She helps like the teachers teach them. um so she has been very stressed out with work, and she was like, I need a day. I need a day. And I was so proud of her. I was so proud of her. Well, I am so proud of her, because we need that sometimes. Like, we need to take a day. You can't pour into somebody what you don't have. And it's okay to take a day off. It's okay. If you guys notice, I've had to take this on advice. Probably been taking it a lot. I'm going through a lot personally right now. And sometimes it's very hard to show up for you guys. It's very hard to show up time in and time out. If you notice, I didn't put out a Tuesday or Thursday video this week. The other week, I didn't put out a Tuesday video. I only put out a Thursday video. And so I'm taking my own advice by taking some days off and saying, it's okay. It's okay. Now I'm showing up for y'all on Fridays, 9 o'clock. I can do that. I'm doing that. But it's okay to take some time off. Like, you have to keep yourself up. You can't give what you don't have. Okay. Tip number 7, set a timer for planning. For some of you guys, planning is just so time consuming. Set a timer. A tip I could give you, a bonus tip, you could do like where you plan a little bit each day. Set a timer. I'm going to plan 20 minutes each day so that I don't spend those hours in one day planning. So I just set little, time, little days, time in and time out. Cool. Do it. Set the timer. Set a timer when you plan. Or if you are one of those that do that one long day planning, just set a timer. I'm gonna plan for 2 hours max. And I'm gonna do everything in 2 hours, and then I'm gonna rock this thing out. Set a timer. When that timer goes off, don't put it on snooze and give yourself more time. If you need snooze, the most I could say is give yourself 10 more minutes, and I'm bad for that because I'm a snoozer. I'm a snoozer really hard. But give yourself a little time. Set that timer. Also, set a timer when you're teaching a concept, especially if you are a parent. Because I know for me, I could teach if my daughter doesn't get some, oh, I'm gonna keep going until she gets it. But who's that really benefiting? Because what ends up happening is she gets overwhelmed. She ends up, Mommy, no. Like, you're fighting, you're fussing, you're going back and forth, you're becoming combative. Who is that really helping, right? So definitely set a timer. If you're in the classroom and you realize that, going back to our first few tips, and you're always falling short, you never have time to teach a concept, it's probably because you didn't have a timer. I see some nods. You didn't have that timer going off. All right, tip number 19, simplify your teaching practices. Y'all, we do so much and we don't even realize we're doing so much. And so many things that we can do. There's shortcuts, there's hacks. Find ways to simplify your teaching practices. One way you can do that is by coming to the workshop. Allow me to help you simplify your teaching without the hours of planning, without the overwhelm, without the stress. Let me help you do all of these things, right? I'm telling you guys these things. I'm telling you it's a shortcut. Let me show you how to do that shortcut. So in the description, I have the link to attend the free workshop all about how to simplify teaching without the overwhelm, without the planning, without the hours of planning, because you still got to plan. I mean, that's just unrealistic not to plan. But without the stress, without the overwhelm, allow me to help you, right? All right. Tip number 20. We are getting to the end, y'all. We're getting there. We're getting there. Grading is also the next most time consuming thing. This is mainly for my teachers. Where are my grading teachers? um, but tip number 20 is grade in the process. So let me tell y'all one thing. I am a project person. It's one of the ways I was simplifying my teaching, right? But what I did, like when it was time for the kids to present, I am grading on the spot. I have my rubric and I'm grading the kids on the spot. I'm not going back and grading. I'm grading in the process. If there's something that literally I can do in the process, I grade right then. Because my weakness was waiting, and I went through the years of having all the papers pile up, spending weekends and nights grading right before report cards. That was me, y'all. That was me. That was me. So if you're one that struggles with grading in the process, take this tip and start grading right there. Find way if there's things that kids can present, have them present. While they're presenting, you go ahead and grade. Boom. Win-win situation. We already talked about there's when we're talking about teaching, and how kids learn best when they can teach others. Allow opportunities for kids to teach others, and while kids are teaching others, go ahead and grade them in the process right there on the spot. Another tip I can give you is use technology to help you grade. So here's another tip. You're going to use technology to help you do this thing. There's a lot of different sites that will automatically grade for you. So here are some of my go-to sites. So you have Nearpod.com. I'm a Nearpod guru. If you've never used Nearpod, I have a full-blown Nearpod tutorial going through exactly how to use Nearpod. But you can use the automatic grading system in Nearpod. You set up a Nearpod, it will give you the grade. Bam, there you go. There's also quizzes.com. That's another site that you can use to automatically grade. So if you have a quiz, put it online and have kids just rotate it. That way you don't have to grade it yourself. Flipgrid.com is another one that grades. And there's so many more, y'all. But these are just 3 go-to sites that already have grading already embedded so that you don't have to. So use technology to help you grade and eliminate the stress of grading, because grading is very time consuming. All right, tip 22. You can also have children grade themselves. I know I'm talking to the teachers right now, parents, I'm sorry, but grading is very time consuming. So have kids grade themselves when possible. Now, I really hate when kids are spending like hours grading themselves. That's not, I'm not saying use up a whole class period having these kids grade themselves. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if they have an assignment, right, then you can have them self check, like, okay, they turn in the assignment, bam, you already know who does it. So you kind of have a list of completion. Then let's say they go through, they relearn, blah, blah, blah. You give them their paper back, have them like grade themselves on it. Not during class time, maybe during like centers, it becomes one of their centers. Or if they take like a quiz like on Brain Pop, have you ever been on brainpop.com? Brainpop.com is another one of my favorite sites, but brainpop.com. Then there's a brainpop.com quiz they can do the quiz first and then do the self-corrected quiz, and they can grade themselves. Then you collect that. Will kids probably change their answer? The smart ones probably will. So this would be only a tip for things that you could have kids grade. Now some things like a test or something, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to grade that thing. But yeah, if possible, have kids grade themselves, y'all. All right, tip number 23, make weekends teaching free days. So many of you guys actually grade and do lesson plans on the weekends. Raise your hand if you're guilty for that. Give me like a little high five, like, yeah, I am a weekend grader. But so many people make their weekends their grading time. I am one. I do weekends free. So if you feel like you're overwhelmed, you feel like you don't have that work-life balance, you feel like, oh, this is too much. Whether you're a parent or a teacher, you're like, I can't really teach all these concepts on the weekend because we have football games, we have soccer practice, we have gymnastics. Make your weekends teaching free. Kids deserve it. So if that means Tuesday nights might be long, then make just Tuesday nights long. It's better to have that stress-free days or stress-free weekends, having those days, that system where you're not worried about teaching, where you have time off, than to always be on this wheel, you know, the roller coaster wheel going over and over and over again. Because there's days where you can kind of like woo-saw, their kids can woo-saw, then you guys can start fresh on Monday. Another tip is to use repetitive activities. Use activities that work. Like if you find a lesson and your kids really get it, your child really gets it. I know one of my clients, her kid, I taught her how to do like this scavenger hunt. Baby, her daughter wanted to do the scavenger hunt all the time for everything. I was like, well, let's switch up the way we do scavenger hunt, but let's keep doing the scavenger hunt. What works best? What I tell y'all earlier, don't recreate the wheel. So definitely, if you have an activity that works, keep doing that activity. Repetition is key. And if you need some activities to do, I have you down below in the description. I told you I was gonna do some shameless plugs. I'm doing some plugs today. But yes, go ahead and download. I'm giving you 3 free activities plus a bonus icebreaker game that you can use for a brain break. But definitely use these activities to start you off so that you can create some activities to use over and over and over again. So helping y'all out with that. Tip number 25, lessen your stress. That's the last tip I can give you. I feel like every teacher, every parent must know less stress is the best type of stress. Okay. Let's talk about no stress. Like no stress is the best type of stress. But before we can get to no stress, let's just lessen our stress load, right? And allow me to help you with that by coming to the free workshop. Woo! How to simplify teaching without the hours of planning and overwhelm. Yeah, yeah. The link is down below in the description. Have a whole workshop plan for y'all, simplifying teaching without all of that extraness, helping you really, really, really lessen your stress load. I want happy teachers. I want happy parents. I want us to really like teach the world, make a difference. But you can't do that if you're stressed, and you can't do that if you don't have anything to give, right? So there we have it, 25 of the best tips I can give you, all about scheduling, planning, activities, having the work-life balance, stress. Let me know down below in the comments if there's anything else y'all need, want, questions. I'm always here for y'all. But definitely, I hope to see you at the workshop. How to simplify teaching. Let's go. I'm ready. I've been preparing for this, y'all. I'm really excited. Really, 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 really excited to help y'all. But I'll see you soon at the workshop. Until next week, don't forget every Friday, 9 a.m. We're doing these lives, helping y'all out. Bring your questions, bring whatever you need. I got y'all. See you later.